Welcome to Roll Credits, a podcast about connections, both in film and in life. I'm Erin.
I'm Mandy.
Each episode on our normal podcast, we aim to explore a cast member, actor, director, or concept that ties a set of movies together. For our normal listeners, we'd be exploring the history and the context of a movie, having fun while discussing our personal opinions. But this is an end-of-year bonus episode, just like last year, where this year we're doing things a little differently. Before we get into that, this is an Armbar Studios production. For more information on all of our projects, you can visit armbarstudios.com. So, yeah, we're doing things a little differently. This is our top movies of 2025.
I know we say every year, this has been a great year. But it's true.
Yeah, it's been an incredible year for movies. We have watched some absolute belters, and there's plenty that we didn't even get to. That I think we would love to watch in this coming year. So there you go. We're going to be going through a list of about 15 movies that we consider our best first-time watches of the year, along with a handful of extras. So, why wait? Let's take it away. Let's get talking. I mean, heck of a year for movies, huh?
Oh, yeah. I actually wanted to talk about three things. So first up, it just feels right to actually mention Rob Reiner, who we actually reviewed two of his movies last year for the Stephen King marathon.
Yes, absolutely. An absolute tragedy to see what happened with Rob Reiner, a legendary director who, has directed some of our favorite movies, and yes, two excellent movies that we reviewed, for the podcast, Misery and Stand By Me. Stand By Me was brand new to me, and it did make it into my top 50 first-time watch of the year.
A small moment of sincerity just to say, rest in peace, Rob.
Yes, rest in peace. Your works will never be forgotten. Thank you for everything you did.
So I just wanted to take some moments here to say that 2026 is here, and I want to go through what's coming out. The good, the bad, and the weird. Tarantino said that 2019 was the last real year for film, and then proceeded to make a 10-minute sequel to Kill Bill in Fortnite that nobody likes. So I'm going to fight that by telling you what we have to look forward to over the next year. Now, first up, there's a movie called Fuck Toys coming out, which is directed and starring Annapurna Sriram. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that at all. It's about a woman who's trying to raise money to hire psychics to break a curse on them. They're making another adaptation of All You Need Is Kill, the Japanese light novel that Edge of Tomorrow is based on. We're actually going to see that next week.
Yeah, we actually have tickets to see that in theaters, so if it's good, you'll hear about it from us.
And I just want to say, the trailer for this looks great. It has a very wild art style.
Mm-hmm. Very Masaki Yuasa-esque, which I appreciate. I'm really pumped.
It also seems to be kind of a retelling from like the side character's perspective. So let's say you've already watched Edge of Tomorrow. This is going to be a different movie from that.
Yeah, I mean, in so many ways. So I'm looking forward to that.
There's going to be a Gore Verbinski movie coming out this year, as in the Pirates of the Caribbean and Rango guy, about a time traveler who shows up to a restaurant to recruit people to fight AI, and it's called Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die.
Oh, that trailer was incredible.
It's funny because I've seen people who are like, well, this feels very anti-Gen Z because they don't like how AI technology works. It's like, I have not run into a single Gen Z person who likes AI.
Yeah. I've run into like a handful of them, and they mostly like the like Chat GPT kind of stuff, which, still sucks, but no one likes AI. It's bad.
So there's also this new one that just popped up on my radar within the last week or so. It's a very similar setup to Ready or Not, but it's about a woman who's trapped in a building with a satanic cult that are looking to sacrifice her. That one is called They Will Kill You. 28 Years Later has a sequel that came out this year that is directed by Nia DaCosta, actually.
Oh, I didn't know she did that.
Director of the new Candyman movie. Yeah.
Okay. The Bone Temple.
The Bone Temple. I haven't even seen 28 Years Later, but I can't lie. I find the name The Bone Temple hilarious.
Oh, it's great. Bone Temple.
There's also The Bride coming out this year, directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal. And it seemingly updates Frankenstein's monster and The Bride as a Bonnie and Clyde crime duo in the 1930s. Fucking love the premise.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds fun.
And you know what I love about this one, actually? It is not a rewritten Dark Universe movie.
Hey.
This is not a... this is actually a WB film, not Universal.
Okay, so it's not like Renfield was. Okay.
Yes, and I need it. A24, sticking with horror movies here, they're releasing a film called Undertone, which is about a paranormal podcast that plays a mysterious sound clip that they were sent, and it just makes bad things happen, basically. Because it seems to be sort of a modern take of The Ring, I guess you could say.
Right. Seems... is that one going to be kind of more screen life, do you think? Or experimental?
It looks to be kind of more of a standard kind of horror movie, I would say. You've seen the trailer for Primate. When I first saw this, I actually thought that it was like another trailer for Primate for a second. Okay. Lord and Miller are directing a brand new movie called Project Hail Mary, and it's about a nerdy astronaut played by Ryan Gosling who has to solve the sun going out and also befriends an alien.
Yep, I'm down. Yep, I'm listen, Lord, Miller, Gosling, give me it.
All right. Rapid fire. Sam Raimi is directing a new horror movie called Send Help about two people stranded on a desert island. Lily James from Mamma Mia 2, Baby Driver, and The Iron Claw, among other things, is in a reboot of Cliffhanger, which has to be one of the most confusing reboots I've seen in a while, but no judgment. I don't know if anybody ever gave a shit about Cliffhanger, so they can do what they want with that franchise. Speaking of reboots, Zach Krager is doing yet another reboot of Resident Evil, and After Weapons, I just hope it's good. He did a good job.
This is going to be the one, guys.
Coyote vs. Acme is finally coming out this year. I'm pretty sure everybody knows that premise now. It's a court drama with Wile E. Coyote and a lawyer, John Cena, taking on the Acme Corporation.
I forgot the lawyer was John Cena.
I can't even remember if he is, but I know that he's involved somehow. He's like one of the other main characters.
Good.
There are sequels to Dune, Avengers, the Sony Spider-Man movies, Ready or Not, and Jumanji coming out this year.
Yes.
My other most anticipated movies of this year are all DC related after how good Superman was in this last year. Did not make it into my top 10, by the way, but it did make it into my top 50. Mm-hmm. We are getting a movie based on the Batman villain Clayface, which is written by modern horror legend Mike Flanagan.
You know, it looks like this year is actually going to be full of pretty interesting movies, and I'll take it.
And there's a really cool-looking Supergirl movie that's by the director of I, Tonya and Lars and the Real Girl.
Hell of a pedigree, and I believe it's also based on an excellent Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, the graphic novel. So, yeah, looks great.
There is a universe in which the words Supergirl and movie ended with the 1984 film, and I am so glad that it didn't. Like, everything about this movie looks like it is going to be exactly what everybody wanted from an, actual proper Supergirl movie.
Oh, and I love the actress they picked.
Oh, she was awesome. Hilarious. Like, her one scene in Superman.
So funny.
We're right near the end. I have to say, a lot of these pretty IP-based, I'll fully admit.
Yeah.
At the very least, we're getting weird with it and we're willing to take risks. Like, fucking a Clayface movie.
I know. Exactly. It feels like, it really does feel as though things are going to be a little more interesting, which is what we need right now, especially because of how things are tough for theaters. Things have been tough for theaters for a while. And understandably so. I get why things are tough for theaters, but at the same time, We don't need like places like Netflix buying Warner Brothers and saying, okay, movies are now going to be in theaters for 2 weeks. Good luck. Like, we don't need that. We don't need the help. Like, at least, good movies are being put in theaters, or at least interesting movies are being put in theaters. Hopefully they're staying, being put in theaters, because going to the theater is fun. I like going to the theaters. So, here's hoping that, all of these kind of inspire studios to keep putting things in the theaters. And, it's frustrating how I actually feel like these last few years have been really cool for theaters because they started doing something that I've wanted them to do forever, which is put classic movies back in theaters so that you get the chance to see them on the screen. We got to see, a few years ago, Enter the Dragon. We've got to see interesting movies be on, on the big screen. You have people seeing Labyrinth for the first time because of the Labyrinth anniversary. You have people seeing, all these great movies. The Matrix was put back into theaters, and it's cool that this is happening, but like, you're mixing it up with some really good, new movies. Like, we're going to talk about what I think is probably one of our favorite, movie experiences a little later, but, at the same time, one thing that's been frustrating is how other movies just haven't been getting their time in the sun, and being in theaters for long enough. So it's been a very frustratingly weird time for movies. Look, I still haven't seen one battle after another. I wanted to see that in theaters so bad, but by the time we had the time for it, it was already gone, and that was like 2 weeks after it had been in theaters. So I'm just hoping that, these next few years are good for theaters. That's all.
The way I see it, the 2020s is not my favorite era of films coming out, but I do think that it is incredibly amazing, all the different films that are actually at our fingertips nowadays. Mm-hmm. Like, just this year, we were talking about how we were trying to watch the movie Drop Dead Gorgeous. The 90s comedy about the Midwest beauty pageant. But that movie wasn't on anything.
Yeah, it wasn't on anything. We had to dig deep to be able to watch it.
And then just like, I swear to God, like the next month or so, just inexplicably Tubi dropped Drop Dead Gorgeous on their feed. And I really feel as though we are getting to a point where we're finding lost films. We're finding the films that don't have any kind of streaming release. We're finally getting them out on like something at the very least. But at the same time, like, new releases is something that they are struggling to figure out. And part of that is, I think, the general problem with streaming, which is to say things blend in, and because of the fact that everything is content, everything moves way too fast.
Oh, it's awful. There's no like sitting around, and that's we'll talk again. I think that's why some of the best movies that did release this year were ones that really stuck with people, and I think like, they show that, these collective experiences at the movies can still be had. By the way, one thing I wanted to mention, I don't actually think, it's probably not on your list because I don't think it's coming out this year, but Jane Schoenbrunn is making a new movie, and it's going to be about sexed up teenagers and queerness and violence and slashing in a summer camp. So it's going to be a great time.
We're going to need to talk about that on the next year's podcast.
Yep, exactly.
So, before I move on, just wanted to say, if there is one more kind of silver lining to movies in the 2020s, I just think we have sacrificed kind of these star vehicles that have like no real thought put into them, with a bunch of directors who have these very clear visions. Like they are all over Hollywood, and they have so many different outlets now. Like, you're not limited to just like Universal or Warner Brothers. Like, because Netflix is in the game, because Hulu is in the game. I think some of those are just Disney, but you still have like more avenues to release your film nowadays, and I think that is genuinely at least a little beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So one more thing before we get to this, and I just have to say, maybe we should just make this like a brand new segment for whenever we just want to rant about stuff, because I love when we have these like small tangents. I think about how we had, say, the superhero comic conversation during Carrie.
Yeah.
So we had watched Uncle Buck for the first time for Christmas. They were advertising on HBO or Amazon. It was one of the two.
Amazon. It was on Amazon.
And it was in like the holiday pack, which is weird because it's not really like a Christmas movie.
Yeah, it's a winter movie.
It's definitely happening around like a cold time. There's not like a lot of snow on the ground, but you see people wear like winter hats and all that.
Yeah. It's Midwest winter.
Yes. It takes place in Chicago around like the winter time.
But there isn't even like a Christmas scene. Even though honestly a Christmas scene would have perfectly fit. Like I mean I still think it was a great little winter movie, but yeah, it's weird that it showed up in the holiday section. But continue.
I just want to talk about how Uncle Buck kicks a lot of ass in Uncle Buck.
Oh, it's so funny.
You see this man. I don't know whose decision it was. If it was John Hughes or John Candy, it was one of the Johns. But they kind of decided, we can't just have Uncle Buck be like the cuddly uncle.
Yeah.
He can be a cuddly uncle. He absolutely, that's why we get John Candy. But he should absolutely kick ass in this movie.
He's super menacing, and it's hilarious.
Like, I think about the scenes where he breaks into a house and then tears down a door with a fucking drill.
Oh, it's so funny. Like, they're just so... Or when he, like, punches out the clown.
That scene has absolutely almost nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah, they just wanted to show him punching out a clown.
There's like a birthday scene happening with a kid who already loves Uncle Buck.
Yeah, it's not like he does this for the kid. I mean, yes, he does this because the clown shows up to the kid's birthday party drunk. But the kid doesn't see this happen. Uncle Buck just decides, hey, you're being a slime ball, I'm gonna punch you now. And it's awesome. We need it. Listen, John Candy was amazing because yes, he was very likable, but he is so funny how menacing he is in that movie. That man is huge, wears a cool hat, punches people out, waves around a drill. If he was in a fighting game, he'd be top tier.
Destroys a teenager at one point by hitting him with golf balls.
Yes! Stuffs him in a trunk as well. Oh my god. Yeah, that movie was a lot more hilariously violent than I was expecting, or than I was led to believe, and I had a delightful time with it.
There's that one post about how Roger Ebert looks like an old lesbian. We should definitely also give that to John Candy.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, he radiates butch energy for just a straight man.
Yeah, it is wonderful. He can join Roger Ebert and Orange Cassidy in the Honorary Lesbians Club. We love you, John Candy, as Uncle Buck. And just in general, he's usually the highlight of every movie he's in, so...
And this is why, and all this to say, this is why the Uncle Buck sitcoms that came out failed, both of them.
Yeah.
They didn't have Uncle Buck kick enough ass in them.
No, that's the thing. Like, I think I was under the impression that Uncle Buck was a movie that you would cast Chris Farley or Jack Black in, Just sort of the bumbling type. Instead, he's hilariously competent. And also evil.
Except for when he can't get the laundry machine to work.
Like, the one thing he struggles with is the laundry machine. And another very funny scene. Yeah, that movie is great.
And so he manages to pull these fucking, good eats ass things. So, the microwave can be the dryer.
Yes! Oh my god, that's so good.
Anyways,
we just wanted an excuse to talk a little bit about Uncle Buck as a movie that is, I guess you would consider it an honorable mention.
yes. So, let us move on to our top 10s. As with last year, we're doing the Siskel and Ebert at the movies style.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be talking about each film on our top 10, but if one film is higher up for one of us than it is for the other, we give priority to the person who has it higher up on the list.
And one of the coolest things I think about this year was we watched so many great movies that there was a lot less overlap in our personal top 10s than there was last year. And that's not to say, like, I had any problem with how things shook out last year. It just means that, like, man, we have a lot of cool movies to go through. I think I mentioned it, about 15. So we each had about 5 unique movies between the two of us. And that's awesome. Like, we watched some great movies. Yeah, so do you want to, like, go through the list of what we each had as our top 10 first, or just go through them, back and forth, and then list out our top 10s?
I think we should do this individually, one by one, as a film. But whoever has, like, their placement in the list, we'll have them kind of introduce the movie, even though you are taking on the job of summarizing each of us.
Well, then, in that case, why don't you start us out?
Absolutely. So, my movie for number 10 is Dance With Me. It is by Shinobu Yahuchi, the director of the acclaimed school delinquent jazz band film Swing Girls. And this one is a musical comedy. Tell me about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a 2019 movie. And it's about a woman who is accidentally hypnotized to believe that she's a star of a musical whenever she hears music, and we follow her journey as she tries to get that curse undone.
And she absolutely hates this curse, by the way.
Hates it, because she's not a musical fan.
So, it's funny, I watched Wicked and K-Pop Demon Hunters this year, and I liked both of them. I didn't really love both of them. And it made me feel like maybe there weren't any real musicals that were going to kind of, like, click for me as far as, like, modern day stuff. It probably didn't help that we also watched Joker Folie à Deux this year.
That was a fascinating experience because you can see, like, all of the bones of where if they had given that movie to someone who gave a shit about musicals, you could get something good out of it. Like, that's the frustrating part, is that all of these, Wicked was good. Wicked was good. But I would say that, especially with Joker, you have, like, these movies that almost get it, or you can see how they made it past the writer's room kind of thing. But everyone's too scared to make a good movie musical. I think Mean Girls was this year too, which is insane.
I'll also say K-Pop Demon Hunters, real good, great animation. It was so popular they literally re-released it in theaters. But, this one, I would say...
this is the one.
This one rules. This one has, like... this was just a huge surprise for me. And it's funny, this film is almost another one that's almost completely impossible to watch at the moment.
Yeah.
Even now, we had to go out of our way to find a watchable version of this film with English subtitles.
It's not on streaming. You cannot find this movie pretty much anywhere, and I don't know why.
The last place I think to have had it in the U.S. was Mubi about 1 year ago.
Yeah, and even then, you cannot stream this movie, you cannot see this movie, and it sucks because, like, I think a lot about. It's funny because, like, I think a lot about the late 2000s, like mid to late 2000s, when we had 2 really great things you could count on: awesome movie musicals with Hairspray, The Producers, Rent. Say what you will about it. Yeah, exactly. All these movie musicals. Phantom of the Opera, which, we reviewed on this podcast, etc. And you could go to a store and you could probably find a Japanese movie. Easy. Just buy it off the shelf. Or a Korean movie. Asian movies. Right? They were big and you could just buy them off the shelf. And now we're struggling to find, in a world that should be more connected and better than ever and easier than ever to find this stuff, it's harder. And yet, it's crazy because it's like you have this movie, which it surprised me because it was everything I could want in a modern movie musical. It was more than that because it was also just an excellent movie on its own with a great story, incredible musical sequences, great, meaningful, beautiful character work. One of the funniest scenes I saw all year.
Easy.
Easy. And yet you cannot find it.
Trust me when I say that this is absolutely worth seeking out.
Yes.
I'm going to say, are the songs really stick in your head catchy? Probably not unless you know Japanese, but exactly what Erin is saying here. It's uplifting, it's funny, there's a really cute dynamic between all the characters. The musical sequences, you'll really appreciate all the effort they put into it and how they decided to shoot it. It is like a tribute to that era of movie musicals that we saw.
The staging is incredible. Just that first scene where she gets infected by the curse and is in her office and hears she hears the jingle, the new jingle for the commercial, and immediately goes into this huge musical sequence based around this commercial jingle for her company and is singing the merits of the company in the middle of this board meeting. Throwing confetti made out of office paper, dancing on tables and computer tables as everyone in the office looks up from their computer and starts doing this synchronized dancing. And then the punchline hits and it zooms out and you just see an office of confused salarymen covered in confetti as she's looking at a horrified board meeting. Absolutely hilarious. And that's just the first of so many great, memorable set pieces that I can think about. I can name things that happen in this movie and think, wow, that is a set piece. For example, the waltz in the moonlight, which is beautiful. The breakdancing competition. The really funny scene that I dare not spoil. One of the funniest scenes I've seen. I can tell you so many, memorable images, memorable sequences from this movie tied together with great music, dancing, and just energy. And you can't find it.
And I will say that, some of this, the moment that you're talking about here with the office sequence, this is all Act 1 stuff.
Yes.
And Act 1 is extremely strong at about the point where these characters go on their journey. The personal journey that all of them take. I think it really kind of helps transform this movie into something that reached the absolute top of the charts for me. I had a lot of sad adult movies this year, and I'm going to say this is absolutely one of them. But it has such an uplifting note by the end of it. It's the kind of movie that reminds you that while you're busy trying to succeed at your job and life, to just not forget to step back and remember to just live your life and allow yourself to make these mistakes and just learn from them. It's just joyous in every way.
Absolutely. And that is, I think, going to be a big theme in a lot of these movies, is that we definitely had a lot of really good sad adult movies. But, it was kind of a sad adult kind of year. But, I would say that for the most part, things work out. For the most part.
Yes.
But, Dance With Me was excellent. I want someone to release this. I don't know who would release it. Just get Discotech to get the rights, I guess, maybe.
We should contact them, actually.
Yeah, honestly. Just be hey, listen, Discotech, this is a movie that, if you were around, if this movie was released in 2005, just like Linda, Viz Media would have already put out a DVD of it.
100%.
We need it.
6 years have passed since this movie was made. It's in time.
It's time.
All right. And I'm going to go ahead and pass along to you to your number 10.
My number 10. Speaking of Japanese movies, shockingly one that does have a Blu-ray release, thanks to, I believe, Hi-Ya is the company that does these things. We are looking at Yugo Sakamoto's Baby Assassins Nice Days, also known as Baby Assassins 3. This is the third movie in the Baby Assassins trilogy released in 2024, where Mahiro and Chisato, the titular baby assassins, are now on the cusp of adulthood, and they're tasked to kill a rival hitman while trying to enjoy their vacation. Shockingly, I cannot believe that this is one of the many sad adult movies on our list, if you really think about it. It's a coming-of-age movie, I'll put it that way.
Here's the thing. In the first movie, they're kind of like shitty teenagers, kind of coping with like the reality of the beginning of their adulthood. But at the same time, I think once you sort of reach the point here, like this is absolutely kind of the maturing point for the series. I've loved this franchise so much. It means so much to me. And you did mention the release by Hi-Ya. I did notice a lot more people were really just getting into this. I feel like they sort of picked up on the fact that, you know, people like us, the people like the person that I found the movie from, were all kind of like seeking this film out. When the first one had only just released.
Yeah, and we actually got our friend into the first movie because we had just watched it when we went to visit Portland and went to Movie Madness, and it had just gotten a physical release, and we were like, hey, you need to watch this movie.
And that's what this movie is to me. That's what this franchise is to me. It's the one that we handed a DVD over to our friend to rent while we were in Portland. And this franchise, it's kind of the pet project of its director, Yugo Sakamoto, who directed all three movies as well as the TV show. And, you know, I'm pretty sure if I had told you kind of the premise of this series, young hit girls who live together and try to live these normal lives with this assassin hustle that they're running on the side as kind of its own sort of business, I think half would think that sounds fantastic, and then the other half would be wondering, like, well, why not all action? But really, it's the blend that kind of makes this series, and this entry is my personal favorite that the series has to offer.
It is absolutely my favorite. I mean, obviously, it being the third one, you're given time to kind of grow and love these characters through the first two movies. Chisato and Mahiro are very obviously autistic, both of them. Like, look, let's not beat around the bush. They are an autistic queer couple, and I don't think this movie tries to hide that.
For real.
You know, and especially in the third one, they really, really, really drill that down. You know, like this is what they are coded as. And in the first one, a lot of the fun of it, yes, the action is awesome. In all three of them, the action is great. I would say that in the third one, this is where the action has been polished to perfection because you have an incredible villain. You have the dynamic between Mahiro and Chisato, which is matured enough to give them also like rivals in the Assassins organization.
Right. You have the other two agents, the older veterans there.
The older veterans that they are having to work with. And so you have kind of the young ones trying to learn from these older ones in another part of the country. But also there's the friction of the two generations clashing. And you don't lose that beautiful slice of life. In fact, again, the slice of life, it really is the two parts of this franchise to me are you get the slice of life and the appeal of just how much chemistry these two actresses have with each other. And then the action, which has only gotten better with each installment. And then in this movie, every single part that makes this franchise something special has come together to make a movie that is something special. And it's funny and it's exciting and it's beautiful and it's emotional and it has the sweetest, like most low-key ending perfect for these characters. And that's, I think, what's really appealing is that, you know, it allows itself to be kind of low-key. Lo-fi is what a lot of people use the phrase for the first movie.
It kind of feels like if a Tarantino movie was directed by just like a normal person, to be honest. So, yeah, you know, you get this story about kind of these, I guess you could call them kind of uncaring Gen Z girls who they play like Nintendo Switch and they watch like JoJo's and Higurashi and Death Note and they talk about it in the movies.
And they talk about it as well, which is honestly, there's a scene where they reference Death Note in the third one that just had me beaming from ear to ear. It's such a cute scene. I
agree completely. To me, this is a perfect cap to everything they had built up over the course of these, like the first two movies, as well as this one. I love this cast. I love this world so much. It makes me just want to watch the TV show just so I can spend time living in the world that was all cultivated here.
Absolutely. Before we watched the third one, before it came out, I think I said to you, you know, Yugo Sakamoto can keep making these and I'll keep watching them. And I still feel that way. Like, one day, I have a prediction. Okay, and we're recording it here. One day, Yugo Sakamoto is going to be regarded as, like, he's going to make something like Parasite or like a Park Chan-wook movie, a movie that has serious, incredible acclaim. And we're going to be the ones who are going to be able to say, hey, we were here at the ground floor.
Love it.
I think one day he is going to get that big breakout mainstream shot. And we're going to be like, yeah, but the Baby Assassins movies, though.
Absolutely.
This dude directs the hell out of these movies, knows how to get incredible performances from his actors. This is going to be, I cannot wait to see what he keeps coming up with, and that it's awesome. And
even if he just ends up directing, like, the next major action sequence, like, he has a very bright future ahead of him.
Absolutely.
He's still he was still fairly new to cinema by the time he dropped the first one, and that, you know, people were already talking about this guy like he was kind of the next big thing for J cinema, and I truly believe it.
I truly believe it, absolutely.
So, my number 9 film, another sad adult film, but you know, I think this one it's a classic. It's very well regarded. It's Brief Encounter.
Yes. Brief Encounter from 1945, directed by David Lean, produced by Noel Coward. We watched this actually because it is my mother's favorite movie. And so this is about an English housewife who meets a stranger at a train station, and the two of them fall in love despite both knowing that the relationship could never be. And what a film. Take it away.
Ironically, it's the first of 2 train movies on this list, right?
Yeah, we're all about trains here.
We're all about trains and sad
adults, gays. You know what you're getting into when you're listening to us.
The Sad Adult Train Gay Podcast. That's what we're calling it.
Lots and lots of gays.
So I'm going to say this is definitely more of a tragedy than some of the other sad adult movies on this list here. Mm-hmm. And of all the films in my top 10, I think this one maybe gave me the most whiplash, I would say, because I really enjoyed where this movie was in the first half. And then by the second half, I could just feel myself just like sinking into the TV, the story that they have here. It's the kind of script that's just dripping with sincerity and longing, and it leaves you hanging on every just well-written line. And I would say that the script is absolutely like the focal point here. Mm-hmm. The script, and, you know, also I don't want to disregard the main 2 actors here. Celia Johnson, Trevor Howard, both amazing, and really, because of the fact they're more like British actors than like Hollywood types, really, they never really became big names in the world of acting afterwards. I think Trevor Howard went on to be a pretty important character in The Third Man, I think it's called.
Right, yes, The Third Man, yeah.
But
classic film.
At the same time, the 2 of them are mostly kind of in just this movie, and I feel like it feels like you're kind of watching a lost Hollywood movie that nobody has really ever seen before, because it's not something that's really talked about, but at the same time, it is really as classic as something like, say, Casablanca or something like that. And I think if you really love those deep, yearning adult dramas like the works of, say, Wong Kar-wai, this is absolutely up your alley as a film.
Absolutely. And, we're huge Wong Kar-wai fans, so, this was right up there. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mentioned earlier that the reason I watched this was because this is my mother's favorite movie, and I can really see why, because she... I finally understand why she loves Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2, because that is the song that kind of is the theme for this movie. This beautiful, just tragic, beautiful piano piece by Rachmaninoff that just scores the whole thing. It's lilting, it's beautiful. The thing that that really blows me away is that it's 1941, it's England, and it's allowed to be this just emotional. But I think that's kind of the point, is that it's a movie made during a time where people felt that they had to be really closed off and guarded. And because of that, just watching it, that these two will never leave their lives that they have. And that's kind of the whole story of, you have to make this decision of, you think to yourself, well, what could have been? What could have been if I had just made this decision, if I had just done this, if I had just done this? How different would my life have been? And yet, in the end, for our main characters, they know that all they have is this glimpse into this impossible future that they have to savor, for as brief as it is. And the movie just does such a wonderful job at sort of understanding. I think what I love about it is that it understands why these two would have fallen in love, but also it doesn't make a moral judgment about it. It's just sort of, it managed to thread the needle of being really nuanced, of just like, I think everyone wonders how different could life have been if just one thing had changed. Even if you have, by all accounts, a wonderful life.
I think
we all... a great home, a great family. I think we all wonder, well, what if? And that's what this movie wants to ask.
I think we all just love, like, a little bit of heartbreak sometimes. Mm-hmm. I mean, ultimately, I think we go to the movies for an escape, but sometimes... it's nice to have any kind of like sad feelings be kind of presented on the screen as kind of like a, hey, so like I'm feeling this too. You look at how wonderful, I know some people don't really care for this movie, but I know we both really enjoyed La La Land.
Yes.
And just how wonderful that film manages to be, with kind of the kind of bittersweet notes by the end.
Yes. Very similar, just sort of that, like, one decision can change your whole life. What will that look like? And again, for this movie to have come out in 1941, man, like, I'm glad that this got a Criterion release. I'm glad that this is, more known outside of just England. But, like, absolutely, why aren't people putting this in the same, breath as Casablanca, as... I don't know, any of the great noirs, like, absolutely. It's phenomenal, and it's smoky, and it's beautifully black and white, and it's also funny, just a little bit. There's that touch of humor with how she has this friend that's sort of annoying, and it's like, oh, you have a friend who you kind of tolerate because you see them every day, And it captures a lot of really adult, mature feelings that I don't see explored enough of in film. And especially not in film of this era. Like, wow. Just a very mature film that trusts you as an audience member to understand what it's saying.
I love it. So that's my number 9. Tell me about your number 9.
My number 9. All right. Absolutely. My number 9 is a gorgeous phenomenal, mind-bending film, 2015's Tag by Sion Sono. It is a story where, while on a school trip, a high school student named Mitsuko is spared in an incident that causes her whole class to die, and now she has to run from whatever caused it, wherever that may take her. So that movie has a shocking opening. It's during October. There are certain movies that we put on our rotation, and I'm like, man, I really hope I get a chance to watch this one. And I was very lucky that Tag, I think, popped pretty quickly early on in the month, or at least mid-month, and because it was the one that I was most excited to see, and it did not disappoint.
When I'm talking about this movie, when I'm thinking about this movie and like what to say, this is one of those things where I want to be very careful because Tag is such a really good kind of mystery box movie. Yes. This was actually I think the only one in your top 10 to not even make my top 50 list. And that's not even a knock on this movie, more on just like the strength of this year. But I also thought this film was great. I think, Sion Sono's work is tremendous. Anti-Porno is, my personal favorite of his. It made it to my favorite film list.
Absolutely. It's the one for me.
And I would rate this one really just below it in his filmography. And what I love about it is one of those mystery movies that absolutely gives you the clues for what's going on from the very beginning, but it's also next to impossible to really figure things out.
Absolutely. It is a mystery within a mystery within a mystery, and it'll keep you going. For me, the thing that I really loved is how relentless the pacing is, because the whole movie has the same rhythm because in it, has this rhythm of a marathon, because the reason the movie's called Tag is because Mitsuko is running and running and running and running and running. And throughout all of her endless running, she's always accompanied by one other person, like her classmate. And that is such a beautiful, beautiful little thing. In the end, without saying too much, a lot of this movie has to do with expectations, with societal expectations on women, with societal expectations about, heteronormativity, I would argue, about, again, what you are supposed to be and who you are supposed to be, the roles that people force you to be put in. And it's a messy film in that regard, but it really has something to say, and it does it in a way that, Sion Sono is such a singularly unique director in the movies that he makes, that they all have this very odd tone that I don't think anyone else can really match. And it's something that I do find very, very, very gripping when he's at his best. And this is one of those cases.
It's interesting. I felt like there was a lot of kind of similar themes to how Anti-Porno kind of did their kind of story about women in the sex worker industry.
Yes.
The porn industry.
Yes, yeah. It's very much, both movies are very much about autonomy and about, society and about roles, and have very similar sort of situations. And, Anti-Porno, I think, is definitely the most abstract, which of course means that as someone who loves the wild abstract, I enjoyed it the most. But, Tag really did resonate enough for me. Just the scenes with, falling feathers, beautiful imagery, and really everything about how relentless and just constantly moving forward this movie was something that I really appreciated.
You call it relentless. I will say, it like exactly. That to me, it also means there's absolutely no slow points to this movie. It's a very kind of breakneck film that I don't think it's possible to be bored at all with it. Like if you're not literally looking at somebody running away, then you are watching literally as like things are dying. There's an insane amount of gore to this film too.
Yeah, okay. I also want to say one thing. It is unfortunate that this movie came out when it did. We talked about movies, Asian films being released. It definitely was initially marketed as something more akin to Mutant Girl Squad or Tokyo Gore Police. It is not that. It is not a movie about watching high school girls get killed. That is not the point of the movie.
No,
it is much, much stranger and sadder than that. So, and I enjoyed it very much.
I loved it too. Yes.
So next up, let's see what we got. What we got? Number 8?
Next up, let me talk about my number 8 here. It is of probably one of the most famous films of all time. Just got a chance to watch it for the first time. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Tell me about it.
Yes, 1966, directed by Sergio Leone. 3 men, as named in the title, rush to find and claim a mysterious bounty of legend, all during the heights of the Civil War. So I think we can both agree, we watched both For a Few Dollars More and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly this year. And the only reason The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is on the list and not the other one is because we didn't want to double up too much. But both those movies were awesome.
Oh, Sergio Leone, you watch these films, you completely understand this man was honestly genius. And it's hilarious to me how much this film has been really synonymous with Western movies. Like, you ask people, like, what is the first Western film they can think of? Like, chances are they're going to say The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah, or One of the Dollars trilogy, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's funny because when you think Western, you think cowboys, shootouts, deserts, characters that are very black and white morally, and maybe with some subversion to it, but I think even something like Unforgiven doesn't really stray that far from those real hard staples of the genre. And I'm not going to say The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly doesn't have all these things, but it's by no means like a textbook Western film. I really think that's only like the small scope of the film. There's this whole situation, like we're set in like this huge Civil War section with dedicated parts where people are shooting each other with cannons and like fighting in the trenches.
You're seeing the Unions and the Confederate soldiers fight each other, the North and the South. It's a major kind of part of the movie. And it is, to an extent, it's still going to be fictionalized, but that's something you don't see in a lot of these, like, where they take the Wild West and make it its own sort of alternate genre. You know what I mean? Like,
it's an adventure film too. Like, they're trying to get this. I guess you could almost say it's kind of the precursor to sort of this heist genre in a way, because they're all trying to get this treasure.
Yeah, and they're all kind of making plans and meeting up with each other and double crossing each other. Also, I had no idea that the characters in the movie, like, yes, it's called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I was not expecting the 3 main characters to actually be called, or at least nicknamed, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
I was gonna say, like, it's not like this guy's name is Jacques Ugly. It's
no. He's
But there is one
Tuco.
Specific character who for like each of these roles.
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood plays the Good. We have you mentioned Tuco.
Tuco.
He's played by the actor for Calavera from The Magnificent Seven. He's the Ugly. And then Lee Van Cleef, who had kind of a more heroic role in the last film, ends up coming back to play the Bad in this movie.
He's the main villain. And Tuco is probably my favorite character in this. And I think what really got me about this movie was about, 2 things. The thing that got me throughout the whole movie was, man, we are fucking up. Why don't all movies sound like this? Like, look, I'm not saying everyone needs to hire an Ennio Morricone type. You can't hire an Ennio Morricone type. But, like, this movie is so fucking sick because you have music under almost every single scene. Just this awesome fucking score. Like, why have we stopped doing that?
There's a part of me that worries that, like, nowadays, for, like, a really good film score, people are going to try and just replace that with AI, just as they have been with, like, art, for example. But, you know, I would say that this film is exactly why, what the importance of, like, a really good orchestral track can be, for example.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if not an orchestral track, just like a score in general.
I mean, there's so much about this movie.
I love when a film is so ingrained in the public consciousness. You can really say to yourself, well, I don't want to watch it because I know what happens to it. But then you watch it and it becomes obvious that, like, you really don't. Like, it is exactly the experience that everybody says it is, but also not what you ever kind of expected, because everybody just kind of zeroes in on these small moments that happen basically like right at the end, like the standoff.
Yes.
But the movie has so much more to it. I really did
They blow up a bridge.
Oh, they absolutely blow the fuck out of that bridge.
No one ever talks about how they blow up a bridge.
And I'm also going to say, you know, I actually expected The Ugly in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly maybe to be like the worst of all of them. I would argue what's fascinating to me really was Tuco and his character, because yes, he's a lying, untrustworthy slimeball that you don't want to watch your back around him, but underneath it, he is like a little sad and lonely underneath. We have this whole scene with him meeting up with his brother, and he has to like lie about how his brother wanted him to stay.
Yes.
Because the truth of the matter is, like, underneath it, he really doesn't have like anybody for himself, which is why he's just kind of a little bit of like a greedy scumbag, to be honest. But
yeah, exactly. And in a lot of ways, he's fending for himself, but he's kind of a tragic figure and pretty much the main character of the movie. Yeah,
and you know, you do think that Clint Eastwood's character, I think he's called Blondie in this one.
Yeah, Blondie. Hey, Blondie! Because Tuco tries to kill him or abandon him in the desert, but then drags Blondie along because Blondie knows where the treasure is, you know?
And he tells Blondie this story, and it's obvious that, like, Clint Eastwood's character knows exactly, like, everything about him. Like, there's no way that Tuco can lie to him.
Yeah.
Like, because even though he's, like, a fast talker, like, everything that he says, Clint Eastwood's character just, like, sees right through him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's the thing, like, what I love about this movie is just how textured it is, just how dusty it is, like, it's slow. There's people saying cool stuff and doing gun tricks, but like it allows itself to go at a slow pace that never feels like it's dragging. And that's, you know, really what's awesome about sort of this older era of just it was before a time where it felt like everything had to be smooth. You know, the actors look like people. You know, they have, like, skin imperfections and little weird things about them. And, you know, the sets look great. The shooting locations look great. And it's a movie that just takes its time, and it trusts that you want to take your time with it. And it's worth it. You know, it's not, and it's like, why have we moved past some of this stuff? Why don't we have bombastic, meaningful scores full of, you know, great compositions? And why don't we just take our time a little more? Like, you know, it's a movie that you watch it and it's like, it's a classic for a reason.
Amen.
But it's another one of those cases where, yes, it's a classic for a reason, but, you know,
I mean, it's the blueprint at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, we even watched one that is kind of like a riff on this called The Good, the Bad, and the Weird, which has a very kind of similar sort of premise. It was made by a Korean studio, I think. It's kind of like a Korean Western film.
Yeah, and it's fun.
But that one, but I'm getting kind of distracted here. We still have about 10 more movies to go, so let's keep this moving.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Next up, we have my number 8. We have from visionary director Wes Anderson, who did release a new movie this year, and no, it's not this one. We have his 2007 movie, The Darjeeling Limited, where 3 brothers reunite after the death of their father to take a train ride through India, uncovering secrets about themselves along the way.
The aforementioned Other Train movie.
Yes, the Other Train movie. I loved this movie.
I love this movie. People kind of consider this to be like a lesser Wes Anderson, and I have to say, well, maybe this isn't the best Wes Anderson, but at the very least, it's like one of my favorites that he's ever done.
Absolutely.
There's a human connection that I really get with this story, where I don't feel like Wes is kind of trying to be snappy or stylish, and this isn't anything like a knock on his style, but I think there's this kind of wonderful, it trusts you to kind of get more invested in kind of the personality of these characters and the emotional weight of these characters.
I mean, and let's be honest with ourselves. Owen Wilson, it's Owen Wilson, Jason Schwartzman, and Adrian Brody, cast as the brothers. Flawless casting. 3 brothers who truly feel like brothers. And that's the thing, is like, what it does is it wants you to, it gives you a very simple setup of, you are on a train with these brothers. They very clearly have something going on under the surface. Mm-hmm. You want to listen to them and unpack through nonlinear storytelling and through what's happening on the train, what is going on with these brothers. And by the end of it, you will know exactly what's going on, and it's amazing. It's amazing. And I agree. Like, I think this one thing that's really fun about this year, in our top 10/15, I feel like we've had a lot of directors that we've either seen movies of before that we liked, and this year was where we finally kind of saw the movies of theirs that we loved. And this is a big one for Wes Anderson. I will say this. I mean, I love Fantastic Mr. Fox. I love Roald Dahl. I love the original book. And it's basically as perfect an adaptation as you're going to get. I liked Grand Budapest Hotel a lot. Really fun movie. Asteroid City, I probably would need to give that one another shot. I didn't love that one. We started with The Life Aquatic, and we liked that movie a lot more than some people do.
It was weird to me that one was a kind of a critical failure, but
because we liked it.
There's part of me that thinks it's like a Final Fantasy situation. Like, whatever is your first Wes Anderson movie is going to stick with you no matter what.
Yeah, I think that's the case. And it's like, so we've seen all these Wes Anderson movies, and yet this is the one where I was like, yes, this is my Wes Anderson movie, and I'm happy to finally have that. I thought the brotherly stories were wonderful. I have a brother. We've had a complicated relationship that, I'm very happy to say in our adulthood has been a very positive one. I think that the humor is very, very funny, but the melancholy is perfect. I mean,
when they get off the train and have the encounter with the kids playing by the river, I think is when the movie really shows kind of its true heart. And then I think from there, it's really just a full uphill journey from there. But I will say,
I would say that one of the most affecting scenes in movies, for me, one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is just before that, where they're just kicked off the train and they're around a campfire, and one of them brings out an iPod and starts playing Claire de Lune in the middle of the countryside. And it's beautiful. And it's so it's that sort of really beautiful thing about life where life is just sort of weird sometimes. And you remember these little things that like shouldn't be poignant, but because of your circumstances just are.
I mean, the Brothers itself are like that, I think. If you really think about it, like, describing these people as like real people to you, you'd probably get annoyed with them because like at all times, one of them is either they're drinking, they're smoking, they're getting high, they're lying to each other, they're bossing the other ones around. They're these very loud, annoying tourist Americans who make these very bad decisions, and they can kind of like recognize this fact and sort of like see the flaws in each other's characters. They know each other like the back of their hand,
but they can't say it in themselves.
Yes. And at the end of the day, they also love each other and have each other's back.
Yeah.
And I think that it's kind of wonderful that you can appreciate this film, appreciate these characters in kind of the vacuum, just because, you know, they are these flawed people. They are these people that are also very much kind of like broken, I would say. That this whole thing is them getting back together after just not interacting with each other at all after their father's funeral.
Yeah, and just they have a lot of healing to do, and this journey makes it happen.
And that doesn't justify everything, like the like the lying about the snake on the train, but
still, great movie.
Yeah, and you have that ending. Really puts just a nice bow on it. Just an extremely comforting and wholesome little film. Let's move on to your number 7, because my number 7 is a little bit further up here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
my number 7. Oh boy. I'm going to try to keep my emotions in check as we talk about this movie, because we will have some things to say.
Let me just say, you introduce this movie first.
Yes, this movie is Save the Green Planet from 2003, directed by Jang Joon-hwan. It is his first movie. This is the first movie this guy directed, and holy mother of God. Now the summary, the plot, where a conspiracy theorist kidnaps a healthcare CEO, convinced that that CEO is secretly a member of an alien race sent here to destroy the Earth.
Sounds a little familiar, I think. It sounds like a movie I may have heard of this year. Listen, I think we can just say up front, this is not even against Begonia. We didn't even see Begonia.
Yeah, we didn't watch it. I know a few things about it.
I will say the original director of Save the Green Planet is the executive producer on the remake, which I've seen studios use that to kind of throw a bone and give a paycheck to somebody while they're just actively taking the rights from them. But hey, yeah, just to quote Marge Simpson, kids, would you lighten up a little? So
yeah, no, I'm not going to go on my Begonia rant. I'm going to talk about what I love about this movie.
Yes.
Which is that it's fucking awesome.
We watched this one actually coincidentally. Independent from the remake. It was actually on a list of films that I had wanted to watch since discovering it in the early 2020s.
Yeah. You found out about this movie and said, hey, it's supposed to be really interesting and experimental, and I've heard about it.
I openly seek out kind of weird films.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds great.
And it was only after we'd already watched it was like, oh, Yorgos is doing a version of this.
Yeah, we were like, oh, Yorgos is doing one called Begonia.
I'll say that this film is just a triumph of this. It's exactly what I wanted. It's this triumph of weird, just entertaining South Korean cinema.
Oh, yes. It is a movie that is juggling so much. It is a torture horror movie. It is a battle of wits. It is a bleak black comedy. It is a commentary on capitalism and on healthcare and on how the rich do not see us as human beings. It is a metaphor. It is a punk film. It is a movie with musical sequences and fantasy sequences. None of these parts should work together, and instead it came together to create one of the most thrilling, unique, exciting movies. Like, I was howling laughing by the end of how dark it gets and how strange this movie is and how great the performance is and how in your face this message is. And this is from over 20 years ago, and it's fresh, and you will never watch another movie like it.
And you didn't even mention like the thriller aspect to it, I would say.
Because the entire point.
There's a whole sequence that with the detective searching out this house, while at the same time, literally there's like a specific area of the house where this guy is being caught, and you're trying to where this person is being held up, and you're trying to you're wondering if like this person is going to get caught for this. It's that bomb under the table thing that we've talked about before.
Very much
with
like
Hitchcock.
Misery as well, like Misery with the sheriff like tracking down, this kidnapping that has happened and trying to get to the bottom of this. So yeah, absolutely, there's a mystery element, and it's juggling all of these things to make a movie that I just absolutely loved. Absolutely loved it by the end, because it is a movie that, it keeps all these plates in the air and somehow it manages, it sticks the landing. And I don't know how you can do this as your first movie.
There are a lot of films actually on this list, I think, that really kind of fit sort of that bill, but also like it is like that's one of the easy ways to kind of endear myself to a film, I would say, is if they manage to tackle maybe like an interesting premise and then at the same time like they're more than willing to just like do something more than that.
Yes.
I also want to say that as much as I am trying to be appreciative of Begonia, and I'm not going to judge it, I do love that in this version, we kind of just accept that Lee has this girlfriend who is just like a weird circus performer.
Yeah,
and they just went ahead and changed her character for the American version. And it's like, okay, I get it. And it's like, on one hand, I don't want them to just like straight up remake a film. I mean, like, if you're going to make a new version, I want you to have a point with it. I think maybe my only issue with Begonia is I'll have to see, but I don't think there's enough of a new point that they warranted a remake, but...
everything I've heard about it is just worse, okay? I'm just going to be blunt. Everything that I've heard about this movie is just the movie, but worse. Why the fuck would you watch this movie? Thank God Arrow finally has the rights and are releasing in February a 4K of it in the UK, but you can import it and watch it region free. I'm
not going to be as negative, I'm going to say, because I think that
the thing is, I'm not against movie remakes.
There's potential.
Yeah, I am not inherently against movie remakes the way I am with, like, most remakes are going to have to justify their existence for me. Movie remakes are different because you can look at a lot of movie remakes are taking some kind of kernel of a source material and doing something different with it, right? Look at The Thing, Or even, I would be a hypocrite considering a future movie on this list is a remake. I'm not against remakes, so that's what I'm saying here. But I do think that if you're going to take a movie, and I think let me just get on my soapbox for a little bit.
Go ahead.
Here is the frustrating thing for me. Here's the thing I think that really just chaps at me and eats at me more than anything else. That 90% of the people who watched Begonia don't even know this movie fucking exists.
And the worst part is this person, it feels like the guy who wrote The Menu, a film I'll admit that I have a lot of issues with.
Oh, yeah.
Had just kind of grabbed the script, maybe made like a few good changes, put his name on it, and then just said, voila, Yorgos, there you go.
And that is what's driving me fucking crazy, because so many people talking about Begonia are saying, wow, this movie is so original. This movie is so, wow, it's so bold that it tackles, what it tackles. No, it fucking isn't! This movie's from 2004! Save the Green Planet, 2003. Save the Green Planet was 2003. It is over 20 years old. And by all accounts, from people who have seen both, Begonia does not change that much. Except it uses Sabrina Carpenter instead of the insane 2000s version of Over the Rainbow.
I do like Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah, no, nothing wrong with Sabrina Carpenter, but I want insane 2000s cover of Over the Rainbow.
Yeah, fair.
No.
Listen, I think we just went ahead and lost the one person who listens to this podcast, so let's keep going.
Let's keep going. I mentioned it. In fact, it's funny that I mentioned that. Again, I am not against remakes. And to prove it, let's talk about the 1978 version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, directed by Philip Kaufman. This was my number 6. It is a movie about a health inspector that learns that humanity is slowly being replaced by an alien hive mind. It is the movie that very clearly inspired one of my favorite games, Snatcher. It is an incredible movie with the great late Donald Sutherland as the protagonist, given an all-time great performance. Leonard Nimoy is in this movie. This movie is awesome because it is so disgustingly tense. I don't know of any other movie that I watched this year that made me feel this stressed out to watch it. Isn't it awesome?
I love it. Horror fans have been sleeping on this one. Can I just say...
it's obviously a classic. I want to say this, before we go that. It's obviously a well-known classic, and people know what pod people are. So it has pop culture cachet, and yet, you're right. I still feel this is under-talked about.
To me, I love 70s. I love 70s horror movies especially. Not only is this just like a great 70s horror movie, I put it up there like top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Honestly, this was my second favorite horror movie that we watched in all of October. It is just completely horrifying. But just 2 quick notes, by the way, since we're doing the podcast here. Mm-hmm. Donald Sutherland. He's the dad of our boy.
Yep.
Fucking Kiefer, baby.
Kiefer, baby.
He does, if I will say, Donald is fantastic in this. Also loved him in, Don't Look Back.
I have not watched, or Don't Look Now.
Don't Look Now, excuse me.
I know that you love that movie.
Also, hilariously, this is also another sad adult movie.
Yeah, I guess, yes. Yeah, Donald Sutherland is great.
To me, it's kind of what the point of this movie is about. It's kind of this moving on to adulthood. It's one thing that I like because the original story very much kind of rooted in this fear of communism.
Yes.
Meanwhile, I see that this story is really more or less sort of this fear of losing ourselves as we get older.
Yes.
And you're right. Like, this movie is... Yeah, you equate it to Snatcher. The way they do this, utterly horrifying, the way the plant just connects to you while you sleep. And it essentially just... keeps you in like a temporary coma as it sucks away your life energy until you are nothing.
Yes. It's disgusting. The thing that no one talks about with this movie is how these are like special effects that would make Cronenberg blush. The body horror is disgusting. It's awesome.
I think if you have seen this movie, the main 2 things you'll remember is the pointing and screaming scene, which I think is just, it's perfect.
Yeah.
That is such a wonderful way for them to kind of just like point out any like humans nearby. Also, as well, so there is this thing where the aliens, they don't really understand humans while they're copying them. So there's glitches in the system. You can kind of equate it to like an AI image.
Yes.
And I don't want to, give away what this is, but You know how AI, sometimes it'll take like an image, and if it sees like a human with like a hand on its car, it clearly thinks, oh, well, that hand is the car. We have kind of like a similar thing happen at one point, and it is fucking awesome. Yeah. What I love about this movie is not just one or two scary ideas. It's like 20 altogether.
Yes, and it is a paranoid movie that, like, the moment you start realizing, like, oh, people are being taken, you will look through every frame of this movie. Like, this movie forces you to stare at the screen, looking at the edges of the screen, trying to see if anyone's acting weird. It is a sweaty movie, too. Like, this is a grimy, noisy, nasty little movie that it is one of the most tangible movies I watched this year, where it felt like I could reach out and touch this movie, and it was so cool and so scary.
There's so much really to pick apart with this film. I don't really want to go too detailed in it, if just because I really think that, like, if you love horror movies, and if you, I mean, we've literally just got off of talking about Stephen King. Mm-hmm. Where I think we literally started with a Kane horror movie.
Yeah,
so
like, if you love horror movies, you owe it to yourself to watch this.
Presumably, you know the score with it. There's so many great moments with it. I love the cameo from the protagonist of the original
yes.
1950s Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where he actually comes up to the car and starts where he comes up to the protagonist's car and tries to warn them by slamming his hand on their car window as he's trying to, like, tell them about the alien menace, mm-hmm. before he slowly gets chased by, like, a group of people.
Yeah, it's great. It really is great.
And then also one more, like, my other real highlights to this one, other than Donald Sutherland, who he's great.
Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum and Leonard Nimoy, of all people, are, like, in the supporting cast here.
And they are awesome.
This is young Jeff, and he is wonderful. Meanwhile, this is Leonard Nimoy, I think, post Star Trek.
Yeah, because Star Trek was 60s, so this is post Spock Star Trek, and oh my God, he's
two sex symbols of their era,
yeah.
Just like in the supporting cast.
Yeah, this is a sexy, sweaty, nasty little movie, and you will find so much to love. I love how angry everyone is in this movie, how stressed everyone is in this movie, and it all leads to a really beautiful, like, there's beauty in this movie, especially near the end. Like, it's awesome. It's really, really great, and yeah, just a shockingly enjoyable film.
So, moving on to your number 5, my number 7. Mm-hmm. So, let us talk about Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, Extended Edition.
Yes. Shockingly, this is, we'll talk about this. This is a movie from 2001, and the Extended Edition was released pretty much, like, same year after, right? So, 2001, 2002 is what we'll kind of say this. Directed, of course, by the great Peter Jackson. Less great nowadays, but, that's his company, not his movies. But we like him. So it's the first movie in the famous Lord of the Rings trilogy, where a hobbit named Frodo Baggins sets out on a journey to destroy an evil artifact called the One Ring. And we
were in the same boat with this movie.
Yes.
We sort of saw this when it came out, but it wasn't something that we were really committed to.
Yeah.
I think.
It was like 25 years ago, or 24 years ago. I think I saw it in theaters once, and I couldn't tell you anything about it. So it's sort of the same deal that happened with me a few years ago with The Matrix, where I don't really count my first watch.
I know for me personally, 2001, you said? I would have been about, like, 8 at the time. So I didn't watch this while it was in theaters. I watched it while it was on home video, and I'll fully admit, I fell asleep watching it the first time.
Exactly. And neither of us had seen the extended edition.
So I had watched it, tried to watch it a second time, and then I got distracted before the end. So this was my first time I've ever felt like I've really watched it. So, and because of the fact I didn't really feel like I watched it like this one, I never saw any of the sequels. I never saw The Hobbit. We were interested in watching through the series originally because of that new anime movie coming out.
Yeah, the War of the Rohirrim had come out. We were like, hey, we should catch up with those movies so that we can check this out, because the trailers made it look interesting. I don't know if it is interesting, but we were interested. But then one of our friends, wonderful friend of ours, and her wife, they're a huge fan of Lord of the Rings, huge fan, and suggested, hey, y'all have never seen these movies. What if we do a marathon? Because apparently that's the thing people do, is they do an all-day marathon of all three movies, which sounded sick as hell to me, but being adults, okay, this isn't a sad adult movie, but we are sad adults. So being sad adults, we just could not find the time to make that work. So instead we were like, well, let's just make it a little bit easier and just kind of go back and forth to each other's places and watch the movies as we go. We're actually recording this after having seen Fellowship of the Ring, of course, and The Two Towers, and we'll probably talk about both these, during this segment. But next week, we're going to finish it up with Return of the King, and spoiler alert, I'm probably going to be a huge, horrible, sobbing mess if these last two movies are any indication, because this shit rocks! What the fuck?
I loved this.
Yes.
Can I just say that, this movie is 5 stars,
it's
no matter what.
Great,
but getting to watch these with people is really what gives this the top 10 experience for me.
Absolutely.
They are. I mean, what really can you say about it? It's infinitely quotable. The characters are great and timeless. It pushed cinema in a way that people say probably can't happen ever again, and they're probably right.
Yeah.
I mean, the most that we'll ever get probably is just more Lord of the Rings movies. But, I mean, how much of a chance this was to take on just an Australian weird horror movie director.
And I want to say, that is the secret sauce that makes these movies work. People are like, man, I wish Peter Jackson just kept making horror movies. No, you guys don't understand. It's because he was a horror director that these movies are fucking awesome. Because he understands the schlock elements that make these movies cool as hell. Dude, the entire scene where a forest eats the army of orcs is pure horror. It's awesome.
Do you think that the sequence where Frodo puts on the ring and then has a bad trip while the fucking death people just look over him would have the same effect if Peter Jackson just didn't already know his way around horror? Or the fucking, in that same kind of, in that same vein, when they go to the bar and they meet up with, and it's kind of this dingy bar, and there's sort of this creeping fear that the evil has found its way into the bar. But then it turns out that no, this person is actually an ally. But it's because he is kind of familiar with the fake jump scares in a way that he was able to really make this one work. He you're absolutely right. I'm going to say also both movies, they're about 3.5 hours each. They are the easiest 3.5 hours I've seen in my life, and I hope Disney and the MCU take that as a personal insult.
Yes. Oh my God. I loved both of them so much. The reason I went specifically with Fellowship of the Ring, because here's what I'll say this about Two Towers. Two Towers has Sam's monologue at the very end about the beauty of stories and the hard times. And it is, out of all, one of the most impactful things I've seen in a movie all year. I was absolutely shattered in pure tears. Two Towers has great humor. It has, that same grand scale that the others have. But the reason I went with Fellowship of the Ring in this particular one is just because I do think that it is a perfect fantasy story. I think that it is a perfect journey. It is, It has just this incredible cast of characters, perfectly balanced. It has the whimsy. It has beautiful sets. It has, just this instantly iconic cast of just great looks, great actors pouring their hearts into this. Oh my goodness, you look at Fellowship of the Ring and I could watch it again. All 3.5 hours, I could watch it again tomorrow. You put that on my TV and I will gladly watch it again tomorrow because it is just a perfect, it is the platonic ideal of an epic fantasy to me, of a truly epic fantasy, slow moving, exciting, full of just iconography of gorgeous, and of course, and
some great yaoi.
Yeah, and the great yaoi. Let's be honest. Sam and Frodo are what's. They are just what's.
I'm your Sam, Mr. Frodo.
Yes, it's me, your Sam. Oh my God, my fucking heart, dude. Oh my God, I love them. And yeah, it's everything. It really is such a wonderful movie that it's just full of great moments, full of, laughs and horror and adventure and thrills. And what a treat it was to be able to watch those movies for the first time last year.
It meant a lot, and I think the fact that it made it onto both of our top 10 lists kind of shows that this was really just an unforgettable experience, and I can't wait. We'll probably end up talking about the last film in the franchise.
Yes.
This for next year.
Yeah, so see you next year when we talk about Return of the King, probably. But I do want to say one more thing.
Go ahead.
It is the pure definition of a modern classic. And isn't it cool, again, when you watch a classic movie, even a modern classic, and it really is that good?
I love it.
Isn't that great? I love that film.
And I will say, this is this one and the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly were kind of the two biggest movies, I'd say, on this list here. Mm-hmm. The ones that kind of have this iconic reputation, and I'm so glad that, I can have a positive feeling about this one. Maybe not every film that's acclaimed is always going to make it into my, best of all time list. But the ones that really hit, like Lord of the Rings, like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, it's just such a wonderful feeling that we can all just kind of agree that these movies are fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And also, I just want to say one more thing about The Two Towers. We watched that on our friend's childhood DVD of the extended edition, which, what an awesome experience that was. But also, it has a switch to disc 2 screen like a PS1 game. And that tickled me. That felt great. Movies, man. Movie magic.
Fucking movies.
And speaking of fucking movies,
let's talk about the only 2025 film in either of our top 10s.
Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, there are some great movies that were released this year that we liked a lot. I enjoyed The Running Man, Friendship.
Yes. We actually put Zach Kreger's Weapons, in our top 50.
Yeah.
We had
Friendship, the Tim Robinson movie. Technically that was the year before, but that's a film festival thing. This was wide release this year.
It's all that to say. Oh, Superman.
Yes, Superman.
Superman, Fantastic
Baby
Four.
Assassins 3 is one of those weird ones where technically it got the American release in 25, but it's a 24 movie. So it's one of those ones on the cusp. But we're talking about bona fide, wide release, guaranteed. This is a 2025 movie.
And I'm sure that if you know about what was kind of the big release over the last year, you can probably guess this one. Sinners.
Yes, Ryan Coogler.
I will join everyone in saying that this movie is amazing. I don't know if Sinners will have the same impact on the small screen as it did in the theater, but holy hell.
The best theater experience I had all year.
Walking into it, not knowing really what to expect, it felt like I was at my first magic show or haunted house, because Coogler has just so many tricks up his sleeves, not to reveal any of them to an audience that might not have heard it. But, there's the use of music in this movie. There's the sequence with the barn at the end.
Yes. Before we get into all of that, can I at least summarize the plot?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, let's go back at...
Yeah, no. This is fine. Let me just summarize the plot real quick. Where in the Jim Crow era South, two brothers named Smoke and Stack open up a juke joint for members of their small community and their blues-playing cousin Preacher Boy. However, there's a sinister force knocking at their doors. So, yeah, this movie, the music, you heard it in the description. The blues is such an important part of this movie. And as someone who loves the story of Robert Johnson, the Me and the Devil Blues and the man who sold his soul, who gets name dropped in this movie. He sold his soul to become like a legend on the guitar, is sort of the story of the blues. This is what this movie was clearly inspired by, and is one of the many things that it's about. And it was like, I was hooked. I was in from the moment I realized that this was a story about the blues.
There's the use of music. There's the use of religion. There's the whole sequence at the barn at the end. There's Michael B. Jordan, literally playing opposite himself.
Did you know that originally the reason for that is because they wanted Michael B. Jordan and Chadwick Boseman to act with each other again. And once Chadwick Boseman passed away, they never wanted to recast it. So they just had Michael B. Jordan play himself.
That is genuinely heartfelt and wonderful.
Yeah.
It's just a highlight reel filled with so many ideas that feels like it could be too much, but he brings it all together. Coogler just has so many different tricks up his sleeve with this. It is incredible.
Every musical sequence in this movie, like we talked earlier about Dance With Me and how frustrating modern movie musicals are. This isn't quite a movie musical, but it is a musical movie. And thank God for that there is still excitement and innovation in that space.
It's insane to me that, like, this movie, like, if it's not afraid to have blood, it's not afraid to have sex and
lots of sex.
There's dancing. There's kind of like even like aside from the fucking sex, there's also just fucking passionate kissing and also killing of racists.
Yes. There's joy. There's excess in this movie. It's like, remember when you used to go to the movies to watch things that you can't like see to this scale anywhere else, and like, you go to the movies and that's why it's like one of my favorite theater experiences, because you just had an audience of people who were locked in. And do not get me wrong, so much of this movie, we talked a little bit about how movies used to really take their time. This movie takes its time, and thank God for that, because it earns every second. Because here's the thing, even before you get to the beautiful music sequences, even before you get to, I guess what would be the driving force of the darkness at the heart of this movie, you get an awesome period piece of, this time in America, and it's of bootlegging and of organized crime and of juke joints and blues and just music, and oh my God, it's so cool. And every single musical sequence just sends like a rumble through you with that big theater sound system. I'm reminded of when I saw Mad Max Fury Road for the first time, or even Drive, and just the way that those movies use sound design to just like hook you right in. And, Sinners was unquestionably my favorite theater experience of the year.
And it's funny, like, there's not really a lot of locations in this movie. There's definitely at least one point where I think the movie kind of sticks to one main location, but it's such a great kind of horror epic for that, and it feels about it as expensive as it looks. It is as wonderful of a movie. It makes full use of its budget, yes. I should say. in a way that it was hilarious to me that earlier this year they were talking about how studios were afraid because Ryan Coogler made like a massive success with like a huge budget. It's like, that's what you want.
Yeah.
Like
you want these movies that are getting people to the theaters, that are exciting and that are fun to watch, that are inspiring people. Can I just say, the fact that this movie was an early release and people are still talking about it as the best movie they saw all year. That people are still talking about
to the point that there was like people talking about how, like there were people pointing out on articles they were talking about like the best films of this last year. It's like, it's very telling when like these people don't have Sinners on.
Yeah.
That when you guys like completely ignore even like mentioning Sinners, like,
yeah,
it's really like fucking incredible.
Yeah. It's a movie that it's like, dude, if you're going to talk about the best of the year, everyone is talking about this. And if you're not talking about this, you're like, people are wondering why you're not talking about it. That's how good it is.
I will say, to me, what I love about this, if somebody wants like a really good modern horror movie to see how they feel about the genre, like Sinners is here for you to just pop in and you can kind of show this big, grand horror movie that is not really, I would say, excessive.
Yeah.
Not that I have a problem with excessive or exploitative films.
I know what you mean.
But it's just not, it's a very kind of,
to me, no.
It's a big budget film, a big budget horror film that kind of feels like it is taking the genre in a new direction, in the same way that Jordan Peele's films have.
Yes, absolutely. And
in the same way that James Wan's films have.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a really great point because, obviously we're not someone who thinks, that horror movies or any movies need to be for people who don't already love the genre. Why play a JRPG if you're someone who hates JRPGs? Why watch a horror movie if you're someone who hates horror movies? But at the same time, it was very encouraging to see people kind of go into this movie and have it's an experience like what I had where maybe you don't realize that you like horror movies, but you see a movie like this and maybe that'll spark something in your brain thinking, oh, maybe I do like horror movies. I just need to find the right ones. And I think that's awesome. I think that's wonderful. Like, please, go for it. Watch Sinners if you just want a great movie about, the Jim Crow South and music and blues and voodoo and everything that and immigration and culture and everything that it has to do and everything that it says and sets out to be. And maybe you'll like more movies like that. And I think that's, cool. Give it a shot.
I think we should leave off on that note. Sinners, go watch it. And now on to my number 4. So, let's talk about Palm Springs.
The saddest adultist movie on our list. Well, no. I say that. I changed my mind. I saw what's coming up. But one of the many sad adult movies on our list, and I say that with the love in my heart. There is no sarcasm. There is there is no cynicism here. Palm Springs is awesome. It's from 2020, directed by Max Barbakow, where two people who are invited to a wedding find themselves stuck there, repeating the same day they both rather escape.
I want to stress that this is a Hulu exclusive movie with no physical media release.
Starring Andy Samberg,
and it's not only like, if it's not like the best time loop movie, it's at least maybe a top 3.
Yeah, and if we're talking American time loop stories,
there's Groundhog's Day, there's Happy Death Day, there's this one.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because this sure as shit is better than Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow is a very good kind of like action movie. Does not compare to
and Edge of Tomorrow was decent, but like if we're talking like time loop movies, it's like no, I would, if we're talking time loop movies, this has to be upper echelon even compared to something like Steins Gate that we love, I would say it's moving and impactful and incredible. This movie fucking rocks. Like, man.
And we were so angry at the fact that this film doesn't have a physical Blu-ray. We bought a bootleg Blu-ray of this just to own it physically.
Yeah, we
loved it that much.
Yeah, we loved it so much that we just put it on our shelf by finding a fan-made version release of this. This is a Hulu original movie. And it's this high on our list. What the hell?
And this is what the importance of physical media. Why this movie is so important to me. I guess I turned 32 this last year. And while I know that's still fairly young, I feel like I'm at a point where days are starting to blend together. And I don't know really if I should know more about being an adult than I do right now, which is why I think this movie hit me as hard as it did. It's this Andy Samberg sci-fi mumblecore romantic comedy that recognizes just this ugly stagnation that comes once you reach a certain point in your adult life. And, how it helps to share it with people and make the most of what we have as like kind of a bleak, short existence filled with hardships by just sharing it together.
I remember that we put this movie on because we had been doing a challenge that, we had been doing with our friends, like a movie a week challenge with our friends. And this was our selection for the time loop prompt. I don't know. I don't think we really expected much. And I remember we had a really bad day. I don't remember why the day was so bad, but I remember just being in a really awful, sad mood that day. And I put this on, and I just remember being hooked, and by the end of it I was just like sobbing, and I felt amazing and so lucky to be here in this moment with you and in this world, in this life. And it's so funny that like so much of this movie really does talk a lot about, the nihilism of existence, but it dares to posit that maybe that's okay. That maybe it is okay to have a small life of, chilling by the pool with people you like, of, maybe it's good to go, be with your family or, do the little things that sort of suck and are really boring. But like, it's kind of that everything everywhere all at once. One of the best lines in the movie of, in another time, I would have loved folding laundry and doing taxes with you. And it's like, it's just a whole movie of that premise that is also very melancholy and very sweet and very, sometimes quite funny, and has incredible performances. Oh my God, Andy Samberg, J.K. Simmons is in the movie and he crushes it. Of course, you can't say anything. With the lead actress as well is just excellent. Just really everyone is, Kristen Milotti, everyone just like absolutely crushing it. And,
it was a blessing and a curse, I think, that this movie released during the first year of the COVID-19 lockdown. I think, so it happened in March, and
it was right when things were
I believe it was like June or July that this movie first released. So yes. Everybody was still at home, for the most part, kind of like miserable. But I think that something like this coming out was great for it when it first came out, but a combination of no real physical release or any reason to kind of go back to this, as well as, maybe the fact that this was maybe like a bleak time for most people. Yes. I don't know if maybe it was, I feel like us getting a chance to just watch this
with like no
nowadays
baggage.
with not as much baggage.
Yeah, not as much baggage.
Gave us like probably maybe even a stronger appreciation and more of a reason to hold on to this film than what the people who initially watched this in 2020 had.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that. And I think that's kind of worth looking into because, our friend Brooks actually rewatched it with fresh eyes, not in 2020, and came to the conclusion that, yeah, this movie's fantastic. But I do agree. I think there's a lot of people who watched it in 2020. Maybe they liked it, but it's associated with, a very difficult or painful time for them that they don't necessarily want to go back to. And I think it's kind of, dropped off a lot of people's radars as a result. Whereas I think, we got to actually watch it just on its own. And yeah, it's fantastic. So, I would say, if you have watched this movie, watch it again. You let it surprise you. If you haven't watched this movie, this is our wholehearted recommendation to watch this movie. It is...
Watch it again, and again, and again, and again, and again.
Well, our next film is one that we absolutely loved.
Other than our number one, this is our only shared film at the shared place.
Third on both of our lists is 2002's Punch Drunk Love, another movie by a director who released something this year that got a lot of acclaim, and we did not pick that movie because we haven't seen it yet. This is Paul Thomas Anderson, who made the seemingly, supposedly excellent One Battle After Another. We're not talking about One Battle After Another. We're talking about the Adam Sandler movie. This is the movie where a small business owner played by Adam Sandler gets caught in a web of scams, and through it all, somehow meets the love of his life. I was struggling to summarize what this movie is, and I think I nailed it. So.
Yeah, well, this is my first, I thought about it. This was actually my first new Paul Thomas Anderson movie in years because I loved Boogie Nights. I loved There Will Be Blood. I remember I watched them with you so you could see them. But technically this was the first time I've really watched anything they've seen in ages. And, between this and hearing how good One Battle After Another is, which I know is kind of like an action film, I really believe that he can do pretty much any genre that he wants to. Yeah. And Adam Sandler essentially does play this temperamental, autistic man with a family that aggravates him to no end.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And a job that tests his patience.
Yeah, it's funny because you can tell that he really loves his job, but he's an autistic man in a working world. He has to deal with the ups and downs that comes with. And we both very much enjoyed Uncut Gems. Mm-hmm. This is Adam Sandler's best dramatic role.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no questions asked. You know what? I even saw 50 First Dates as a kid, so I have an opinion on that movie at least.
Yeah, I've seen that one as well, and this clears. And Adam Sandler, as Barry, is constantly stressed out, constantly under attack.
Constantly life spits in his face, and he's harassed by his family and then just regular people. And in spite of all of that, he still manages to find the one person that he truly cares about. Mm-hmm. And this relationship is all happening while he's fighting for his life. Because one day he just happened to call a phone sex company, and that phone sex company is going to rough him up because he won't give them enough money.
Yeah, it's incredible. This movie is such a great symbolic depiction of what it's like to be autistic. To be forced to do it feels like Barry is in this world where everyone else but him has been taught the rules of society, and he is trying so hard to figure it out. His family thinks it's funny whenever they poke him into a meltdown. He was just looking for some companionship, so he called a number on the TV, and now they won't stop calling back, and he can't figure out, what is the right thing to do to make this right. And so much of this movie is distressing in that sense. It's so funny too. If you, as fellow autistic people, we think that's there's so much relatability that's so damn funny.
I think about how this movie, with its premise, could easily have been in kind of the category of those real 90s comedy movies I mean, you literally got Adam Sandler there.
Yeah.
This could have been just like another Billy Madison or The Wedding Singer and all that. But really, like, it's so beautifully shot. And if I was to give this film a one-word summary, I'd call it like heartfelt.
Absolutely.
Like, it's a film that kind of understands the human psyche and sort of our lust for companionship.
Yes,
about
connection, just
connection.
real. Yeah. It's and the movie has so much empathy for Barry. Like it at no point are you not with Barry. You know, at no point does the movie like, you know, try and make Barry the joke, even though it is a very funny movie. The joke, I guess, is that, you know, he's in a very stressful world that, you know, doesn't respect him. And, despite all of that, it's a movie about being out of step with society, but also how goddamn good it feels when you finally have someone who can walk alongside you, like, and both of you are out of step from everyone else together. And done that, that's what it's all about. Just how goddamn good that feels when those brief few beautiful moments where everything makes sense and everything clicks into place and you have someone there to share that moment with you.
And I really just want to say I really appreciate how ultimately the message of the movie wasn't that Barry needed to change in any way to kind of have this relationship.
Absolutely not.
Because, you know, these were all kind of like traits of himself. If anything, what the movie kind of teaches is that, like, he could have used his anger for like positive things. Like that you get him on this very like passionate journey because he is really like underneath it all, he is like a good guy that is being tortured by society.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like maybe if his family gave a shit about him instead of joking about his meltdowns, maybe because you look at him, he's successful at his job. He likes his job. He has a good life. He has a suit. He has an organ that he found on the street. And, you know, and it's like all it takes.
That's what we all want.
That's what we all want. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, you know, and it's just this movie about, you know, finding that person who gets you and likes you for you and never letting him go. And it is so thrilling. And what's funny is this is a complete blind buy. You bought this along with Kronos when Criterion announced it, and it just showed up in our mailbox. I think you bought it because, you know, you had heard about it. You knew the song, right?
I heard the song. I've heard a few songs from the soundtrack for this one.
Oh my God, talk about a movie with an incredible score. Holy
and on top of it, I'll be honest, I trusted Paul Thomas Anderson.
Exactly. It's like, you know, hey, and this is the other thing, is like, this is the year where directors that have had movies I've liked, I finally found the movies of theirs that I knew I loved. And even looking back at something like Zach Cregger and Weapons, which isn't on our list, like that's another case of a director where I watch one of their movies and I'm like, I know you have one in you that I'm going to be obsessed with or at least love. And even he did it with Weapons. And it's like, cause like that's how I felt when I watched Barbarian. And when I watched Paul Thomas Anderson, I loved Boogie Nights. And I loved, you know, There Will Be Blood is a great movie with an incredible finale, but you know, Boogie Nights, I remember watching it and thinking, man, this movie's awesome. And there has to be a Paul Thomas Anderson movie I love. Or, you know, Wes Anderson, the other Anderson, you know, watching his other movies, you know, Fantastic Mr. Fox is kind of an outlier just by virtue of what it is.
Yeah.
But like looking at his live action movies, I was like, man, one day there's going to be a Wes Anderson movie that I just love. And that was Darjeeling Limited. And in this case, again, it was Punch Drunk Love. And, yeah. And that's also just a nice feeling. Those little moments where the world just finally makes sense, despite it being pretty senseless most of the time. And I think that's a big theme for all of our big movies this year.
3 last movies we need to get into your... so let's go to our number 2s and number 1. So
yes.
This is your number 2, my number 6, but oh my God, I'm not going to put this film down any way. Like, obviously, this made it into our top 10. Please introduce this film.
This is Dead Talent Society, a 2024 movie by John Shu, Taiwanese director. A ghost only known as You There has to become an urban legend to avoid disappearing, and she trains under a former ghostly superstar to do it. So this was, speaking of movies that I'm mad don't have physical releases, this was only released on Netflix. And so I'm just saying, so this is a movie actually, you knew about it before I did, but I was extremely excited to watch it because the director, John Shu, previously made a movie that I loved when I first kind of blind bought it, a physical release of it, Detention.
Well, that's actually how I heard of this movie, to be honest. I mean, here's the thing. Like, when you had bought Detention, I think I was shocked because I loved the game that it was based on. And we both agreed that it was just absolutely fantastic film. I think at the time I called it the best video game movie. That's
honestly
probably accurate. I will say the Sonic the Hedgehog movies are at least fun.
Yeah, Sonic 3 was a lot of fun.
Along with the first film, Dance With Me, probably the most underrated films we're going to talk about today.
Yes, absolutely. Like, very, very, very underrated.
This is a Taiwanese film, and it is one of the most heartfelt and unique horror comedies I've ever seen. And at least Palm Springs, when it released, there was fanfare for this. Netflix just decided it was going to just release this. No advertising, and then it just kind of got buried.
Yeah, no one knows about this movie. And it's, again, no physical release. Like, please, Vinegar Syndrome, Decalogue, you released Detention, release this one too. Like, and that was the thing with Detention. You know, I bought it because I thought the cover art was beautiful. But yeah, no, if they release, this is one of those movies where if they announce a similar release, I'm buying it day one with no questions asked, like top of my list stuff. This movie's incredible. It looks amazing. The story is amazing. It is a story, as I gave you the plot summary, but it's a story about how ghosts are going to disappear unless they become urban legends. So this underwhelming, like, nothing ghost who is only called You There, because when you're a ghost, you're just kind of called by your nickname. And that's who she is. She's just kind of there. And, so she's like, oh, I got to become an urban legend so I don't disappear. And throughout the movie, you learn about her backstory. And she does it by, training under a former ghost superstar who, in the age of the internet, people don't believe normal hotel hauntings anymore. So she's kind of been shown up. And there's also a seedy manager involved. And the thing about this movie is that it looks incredible. Every scene is fucking gorgeous. Like, every scene is bright and glitzy and glamorous, and it's funny and it's heartfelt, and none of this movie goes the way you would expect. And I think that's what I loved about this movie, is that conflicts are not resolved in obvious ways. Jokes are not paid off for in obvious ways. It is a surprising film. Constantly surprising. There's no... We have a joke with our friends about a trope called the liar reveal, which kind of becomes in like kids' movies where in the third act, someone is revealed to have lied about something, and it's like this big dramatic twist. And of course, you get the same thing in every movie where the gang starts to hate this person for lying and turns on them and comes back together maybe, or maybe it's a twist villain or whatever. Yeah, that shit doesn't happen. There is secrets, but people like treat this normally like real people would. And also, this movie loves horror movies. Like, the main antagonist in this movie, I guess rival character, is just dressed like Mima from Perfect Blue the entire time. It's fucking awesome. Like, I was like, no way, that's Mima. She's totally dressed like Mima. And yeah, she's absolutely dressed like Mima. There's scenes where, characters are like referring to things like The Ring or The Grudge or like popular ghost movies, and it's a movie set in the modern day that has modern elements to it, which I really appreciate. And it's heartfelt. It's so funny. There's an entire sequence about them trying to scare like a salaryman, but it's hard to scare a salaryman because he's so focused on his work. And yet through all of this movie will also make you cry, because it made me cry so much. There's a scene, involving an online chat room that it'll make you feel something. And
it's a real comforting film to this. I love the positive relationships with our protagonist, who's just, as you mentioned, this awkward ghost who's at risk of disappearing after her sister threw away just the one accomplishment she ever had in her life. So this story, I'll say horror as a genre at its best is about conquering your fears, or it's using commentary to reflect on things that truly scares you by mythologizing it. And Dead Talent Society is great because it does both, and then it's also just sweet as honey. And
it's a celebration of horror, and it's a celebration of life. And I've brought it up many times. One of the foundational pieces of queer theory is the queer art of failure, in which, by Jack Halberstam, which posits the thesis that maybe there is beauty and life to be found in, quote unquote, failing at what society expects of you. And that's this movie in spades. That is a huge thesis in this movie that I absolutely resonated with and loved from the bottom of my heart. And it all builds to one of the coolest climaxes I've seen, ever. Like, I mentioned this movie looks great, and it has a lot of really funny, influencer stuff. And the entire finale of this movie is just dynamic and exciting and funny and mile a minute. It's so satisfying. And yeah, this movie was a real surprise. Just a real late game, rocketed right to the top of my list.
I can think of a few movies that share a little bit with the DNA of this film.
Yes.
I've seen people compare it to Beetlejuice, which makes sense to me because it has the real detailed kind of depiction of the afterlife and ghosts, even though, it's kind of like a bit of a comedy thing. I've seen people compare it to Monsters, Inc. because of the scare factor.
Scares, yeah.
I've seen people compare it to All About Eve because of the whole Hollywood culture that they've treat these ghosts with. And you know what? I would even include Coco in there. The whole thing about Coco be an important element of that story is being remembered.
Yes,
or
exactly.
else, you are going to pass away in the afterlife.
Yes.
And I think that what's kind of wonderful about this one is there some things that it's similar to? Yes. But, the way that it manages to kind of move this all into one sad adult story, and it gets I would say that, it turns into maybe one of the most kind of unique depictions of the afterlife, and such, I would say, more so than kind of anything as far as vibes are concerned. It's probably closer to The Good Place than it is to maybe any of those actual examples.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that, the heart and the lessons found within this film are probably the most important aspects to it. Admittedly, you're right. This wasn't maybe what I was expecting when I put this on as a horror movie in October, which isn't to say that it isn't a horror film. There's definitely scenes. You mentioned Sadako. There's a perfect scene that kind of harkens back to these myths like Sadako in it.
And it very clearly loves horror.
Yes. In spite of that, this is absolutely like my favorite horror movie that I watched in October for that exact reason.
Absolutely. There's one movie that I will compare it to, and I'm only comparing it to you on this podcast because you've seen both movies, and so I don't have to worry about getting people's expectations too high. This is probably the closest movie that I've watched in terms of how much it juggles and what it manages to accomplish to One Cut of the Dead. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. I mean, like, I know that One Cut of the Dead is hard to beat, but if you want a movie that attempts big swings and knocks it out of the park in that regard, I would compare the two. So
2 years ago, One Cut of the Dead was my favorite movie of the year. Yeah. And I feel it's funny. I wanted to talk a little bit about it later, but just to kind of go over, like, I've been keeping track of these since about 2021, and I'd say every single one of these films kind of changed me in some way. In 2021, my favorite film was Mandy, the 2018 Nicolas Cage movie.
Your favorite movie?
One Cut of the Dead was my favorite movie 2 years ago. Last year, as I mentioned on the podcast, it was I Saw the TV Glow. I'll say that almost every single film in this top 10 here really kind of shaped me, and I think they're ones that I'm going to really take with me for maybe like the future years. Mm-hmm. Honestly, if I was to redo maybe my top 100 film, I can't promise. Like, there's would probably be at least a few of these that finally make it onto my best of all-time list. I'll say for sure that Dead Talent Society is one of them. I already added that to my favorite films of all time. I just need a physical copy to actually buy.
Yeah, so please, the catalog, get on it. And speaking of movies where it's hard to find a physical copy, we go from something so affirming and clever and sweet to probably one of the most stressful movies you're going to watch ever.
Your number 4, my number 2. Let us talk about Gozu.
Gozu, Gozu, Gozu.
I love Takashi Miike.
Takashi Miike. To quote a certain one of my favorite video games of all time, most fucked up Miike film, Gozu.
Fucking No More Heroes.
No More Heroes 3. What a fucking masterpiece.
I'm going to say Baby Assassins definitely has a No More Heroes vibe now that I'm thinking on it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So
if you've never seen a Takashi Miike film, the one constant about him is that they're very well shot.
Oh, yeah. He's an incredible director.
Sometimes he'll make a gory horror film. Sometimes he'll make a accurate video game movie. And then sometimes he just makes action Yakuza flicks or like sci-fi pictures. Basically, he has like an insane range. This one is
all of that.
It is a Lynchian horror film that is bolstered heavily by the fact that I am a queer individual.
Yeah. So
this should be a Pride Month classic.
Oh, this is a Pride Month classic. So let's just talk a little bit. So here's the basic premise.
Yes.
A member of the Yakuza is tasked to kill his brother, his Kyodai, and finds himself going down a gruesome rabbit hole as he struggles not to do it. I think that broadly explains the movie, yes?
Yes, and I want to keep things relatively vague.
Yes.
But I think we can say that this is a horror movie about gay thoughts.
Oh, yeah, baby.
It is fucking hilarious and awesome.
He loves his Yakuza boy. Yeah, it's about hypermasculinity and the struggle inside this of just like coming to terms with these gay thoughts of just like, not wanting to do this job and trying to figure out why he doesn't want to do this job. Also, this is a deeply stressful movie. I have not yet seen Ichi the Killer. You have.
I love that one.
I'm going to. But it is my understanding that this is the same kind of like horrible, unglamorous Yakuza lifestyle that Ichi the Killer demonstrates in terms of just like, Miike does not love the Yakuza. There is no love lost for this organized crime. This is also probably the slimiest movie that I've watched, just beating out Invasion of the Body Snatchers by a hair.
So what I love about Ichi the Killer is that everybody is a fucking pervert in that movie.
Yeah.
You get kind of this really kind of horrible main character who is also like kind of the villain of the whole thing, who gets off on murder and just specifically is like kind of incel, I guess we could call it. And then he is directly comparable to this fucking Yakuza who is exactly one of the best Yakuza out there, one of the best hitmen out there, but it's only because this guy is also a fucking pervert.
Yes.
And it's basically saying that, and he is specific, like a sadist, and it is saying that the only way to be, that anybody would really want to be like a Yakuza is if you are like a sadist or a masochist, basically. You either like taking orders or you like to like deal out punishment and all that. It's fucking hilarious, if I'm being honest.
And so this movie is very much, I mean, it is drenched in every bodily fluid known to man. You will find milk in this movie. You will find piss and cum and blood. And it is all wrapped up because Minami does not want to kill Ozaki. And because of that, like, everything is so stressful. You want to talk about Punch Drunk Love being a stressful movie. This is a movie where a Buddhist monk, like, this is like every horror that you've ever had. Like, Lynchian is an incredible word because it reminds me so much of the scene in, was it Mulholland Drive with the dumpster, the dead guy?
Yes, Mulholland Drive.
Mulholland Drive, the opening where this guy has this nightmare of a guy behind the dumpster only for him to wake up and be in real life and realize that that nightmare has come true. This is a world where nightmares are coming true constantly because of these tortured inner thoughts and how they are kind of, everything is affecting these worlds. And like, there's so much symbolism in this movie. A monk is tormented by his high school bullies. People get hydraulic pressed. Like, there's a lot going on in this movie, and it ramps up into disgusting scenes with cow gods and tongues and one of the wildest swings I've ever seen in an ending that, thank God, Takashi Miike just went the fuck for it.
So I mentioned that my favorite film of like 2021 was Mandy. I think, like Mandy, I love when a film I can kind of like feel it in sort of my spirit. And I feel like when I can actually like experience a film, that really is the ones that leave the biggest impact on me. The Boxer's Omen is a similar way where I don't really understand everything going on in the Boxer's Omen. I do love dissecting it. I do love dissecting this film and Mandy, but at the end of the day, I love when things are just a little bit inexplicable, and Gozu is just a little bit inexplicable. There's a lot of fucking like bullheads and these fucking gorgeous ass shots of this like Japanese town and all that. A lot of dingy, like grimy areas. Like it is a film that fucking smells.
Yes. And people are trying to poison you via complimentary egg dishes. And there's an old man who was there last week saying the same story. And yeah, this movie just, again, I love how tangible and nasty this movie is, and how beautiful it is because of it. And like, man, what a great film.
So you talked about how this film was hard to find.
Yes.
Can you please explain the reason why?
Okay. So actually, I have a contact in Japan who is the one who helped us on the Phantom of the Opera, episode translating the 4K release of Phantom of the Opera and giving us the cultural context of how popular that movie was in Japan, I actually asked him about the DVD rights. So, there was a rumor that the reason this movie was only ever on DVD and is impossible to find these days, which I actually think it was recently added to Shudder, so thank God for that, but is because it was at least partially funded by the actual Yakuza.
Takashi Miike is a fucking fucking god and a madman.
Yeah. So yeah, even in Japan, there's no Blu-ray or 4K. But unfortunately, here's what my contact in Japan, known as Mr. Roboto, we love you, buddy. Thank you so much for this. Had to say. So the Yakuza bit, and I'm going to quote him directly. The Yakuza bit is just a rumor stemming from Western circles, mostly a misassumption or mistranslation of the fact that Office ASK, the production company, was a Nagoya-based firm funded by an underground businessman, and it was a company established specifically for the film. There's no official reason as to why Gozu still has no Blu-ray release, but it's safe to assume that it boils down to it being a case of unclear or defunct rights ownership. Since Office ASK disappeared from the scene right after the film's release, the rights just seem to be in limbo, with no active company managing them or no one willing or able to deal with the legal ambiguity. So it's actually comparable more to the Sonic OVA and why Discotek hasn't released the Sonic OVA, because no one knows who owns the rights at this point. But it could also be organized crime. You don't know.
Discotek, I have a list of demands.
Listen, Discotek, you want to give us the Blu-ray of Linda, Linda, Linda. Give us Dance With Me. Give us Sonic OVA. Figure that shit out now. And Gozu. Reissue Gozu. I don't give a shit.
Listen,
if
I know
it's
you're
just a DVD. You just released Electric Dragon 8,000 volts, and you just released. I can't even remember the name of that weird ass DVD you just released, and just put it on Blu-ray with minor upscaling. I don't give a fucking shit. Give us Gozu. We want the cow tongue. We want the piss. We want the blood. We want the gay thoughts. And we want them now.
I think we're ready for number one.
I think we're ready for number one because holy mother of God. We watched this movie in January?
Yeah?
In January of last year. It's January of this year. This was 1 year ago. And still, nothing.
We talked about how much we love this movie all year. It was one of the first things we watched, and it not only set the standard for what the best movie of the year should be for us, it stayed at that spot. It was the best movie of the year. It did not move.
It did not move. There were times where I thought it would move, and it never moved. And to the end of it, like when I was making this list, I knew what my number one was going to be. And it is your number one as well. It is Velvet Goldmine, 1998, directed by the incomparable Todd Haynes, in which a journalist reflects on his life and the entire glam rock movement in the UK as he works to piece together the true story of the murder of one of the most influential glam stars of all time. Oh my God. This is why movies were fucking made.
So you haven't seen Citizen Kane, but this is a kind of retelling of Citizen Kane, with Slade as kind of this main focus, and he is a stand-in, a very obvious one for David Bowie.
Yes, this is very obviously a movie about, Christian Bale is a reporter who is reporting on the assassination of this David Bowie-esque superstar called Slade. Like, even down to the alien backstory stuff, you can very obviously tell, David Bowie and Iggy Pop, right, is like what this is a movie about the glamour, or I will even quote the movie. This is a movie about, quote, the death of glamour. In one of the best scenes at the end, the 20th Century Boys scene, where they have one final glam rock concert to end the era. This is what this movie is about. And like, my God, you watch a movie to see a goddamn story, to feel emotions, to see music, to see, man, this movie, I'm sorry, this is what movies are all about.
No, agree completely. This is my jam. I love glam rock. I love the 70s. I love David Bowie, actually.
Yes.
And even though, like, this version of David Bowie is essentially this corrupt Charles Foster Kane figure,
I loved that. Like,
the way that they kind of explain him, the justification for this, I think, I felt and I understood Todd Haynes and his vision for this story.
Yes.
It is, I can't believe they made a fucking queer Citizen Kane.
Yeah, it's so great. And what I love about this is how it pulls absolutely no punches. It reminds me a lot of what made Boogie Nights so great. Like, one of the best parts of Boogie Nights, speaking of, previously Paul Thomas Anderson, was how it did not shy away from showing the transition from the freedom of the 70s to the conservatism of the 80s. Except it's doing this through this truly queer lens, while also making this absolutely beautiful story of how, the journalist Christian Bale, how he related to the glam scene, how he related to Slade and to everyone involved in the glam scene. And it's this fictionalized version of the glam scene with these celebrities standing in for these obvious people who, like, have shaped the way, in queer culture. And also how so many of us as queers were betrayed by the people we were told to look up to.
Especially when we needed them the most. Fucking,
Yes.
The big transition point here is the 80s,
Yes.
is like the beginning of when the AIDS crisis
Yes.
came about.
And the rise
when it became
of conservatism,
uncool.
of Thatcher, of Reagan, of these people who are, like,
actively trying to kill us.
Actively trying to kill us. Basically what's happening nowadays, and it's like, and it's just this story of us as a queer community, looking and trying to figure out, what the fuck went wrong. These people who were supposed to be the ones that we look up to, that were supposed to be helping the next generation, and of course the generation that we are, like, what happened to the scene? It's a fad, Glam was a fad to so many of these people. Whereas, to so many other people, glam was our life. Queerness camp was our life. We aren't just a fucking fashion statement or a piece of music or a persona to put up on stage. And it's such a messy, meaningful movie that dares to be truly transgressive in that way. And I loved every goddamn second of it. And it sounds so good. And they have been rumoring a Criterion release for, like, a while now. This movie would look like, this is a movie, you can buy it on Blu-ray. It is very difficult to find and very expensive, and I still have thought about it.
Are we doomed? I'm thinking about this.
Yeah.
The movies that we fell in love with the year, you can find easy versions of, like, half the films that we fucking watched over the last year. But man, they're not the ones that were fucking, like, favorites. Like, oh boy, like the Steelbook version of Detective Pikachu. I don't want to rewatch Detective Pikachu.
I'm happy I have the 4K versions of Lord of the Rings. Got them for Christmas. Love them. But, that's a given. That's not Gozu.
Where have all the Gozu gone?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Is, like, there are rumors that Criterion is releasing Velvet Goldmine on 4K. And just like with Network, that's going to be one that I pre-order the moment they release, the moment they reveal it. But, cause it's going to look amazing. It's going to sound incredible. Like, this is a movie that was built, like, to fucking test your 4K, surround sound stereo systems, just cause, man, what a stunning film. And I just, again, this is the kind of movie that I'm like, God damn, this is why I love movies. this is the movie, this is why I watch movies. You know, a movie that makes me feel like this. Like, this is why I'm happy. This is why we do this fucking podcast. This is why we do this end of year episode. Because these are the kinds of movies that make us, like, want to sing, want to tell everyone, want to tell the world about why movies are awesome. And why they're just some of the best things you're going to ever watch in your life. Like, goddamn, art. Pure art. And, yeah, through the year we watched, I think we watched another Todd Haynes. We watched Carol, which is a very sweet, very sweet's not quite the word, but you know, it's a very charming movie and a very great performances. Also very gay, great Christmas movie.
Yes.
But nothing like this. And the fact that that I am raving about this movie, I watched this a year ago. I have not rewatched it since. Unlike some of these movies, I've rewatched The Darjeeling Limited recently. I watched it pretty much a month after we watched it for the first time, and I loved it as much the second time. But this movie, we watched once, 1 year ago, and we are still talking about it like this. What the hell? Like, that just really goes to show just how goddamn good this year was for movies.
I'll be honest, I couldn't say it better. I think that is our list. I think this is a really good episode. I think
it's a long one,
a very long one. But
hey,
I'll say to me, this is the party.
Yeah, this is the party. We're celebrating, man. Because here's the thing: why do we do this? Why do we watch movies? To feel good, to have fun, to watch cool art. And we watch so much cool art. Of course, we're going to celebrate that,
and to have these discussions.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, dudes, listen. I'm just going to kind of go broad. If a hobby isn't filling you with joy, why the fuck would you do that hobby? So you, out there, you listening, you who love movies like we love movies, watch movies, talk about movies, enjoy yourself, have a great time, find things that are beautiful and clutch them, because we need that more than ever. Now more than ever, we need art. We need art and we need life. So have fun and be loud about it.
And this even goes out to you, person who left while we were ranting about Begonia.
Yes, even you, Begonia person. Maybe you'll hear this. If that's your truth, sing it to the heavens.
All right. So, we have more episodes coming out soon.
Yes.
Our next planned episode will be The Big Boss.
Yes, we're going to be starting our Bruce Lee arc, which we're both really excited about. Yeah, I'm really pumped. The Big Boss is actually, out of all Bruce Lee movies, the one that I have not yet seen. So this will be a first time watch.
I think the fun thing about, he starred in a lot of movies out of his big martial arts films.
Out of the big martial arts movies that we will be covering.
Bruce Lee, very famously documented. So I will say I'll try and do my own sort of spin when we get to the history, but even though we will probably touch up on a story that is very well documented, I think that what we will get by the end of it will be worth kind of exploring a more famous person in the pop culture.
And I'm excited to see where we go, and I hope that all of you will follow along with us as we go through. But in the meantime, you know, happy 2025. Here's to 2026. You know, I hope that if nothing else, it'll be another great year for the movies. Now, let's kind of wrap things up. Of course, if you want to listen to our podcast, you can find it on any of our platforms. And, of course, go to armbarstudios.com, where all new episodes are posted, immediately available to listen to on the website. We also have, of course, links to Apple Music, Spotify, RSS feeds, so slap that in your reader and enjoy yourself. We will see you again down the line. This has been Erin, that has been Mandy, and until next time,
3, 2, 1, roll credits.
Roll Credits is produced by Armbar Studios and is part of the Erin and Mandy Network. The intro and outro music is provided by Daniel Vodovos, available on Bandcamp. For more information on all of our projects, visit armbarstudios.com.